consolidated into Ukiah. And so one of the things that Ben and I talked about is, given that the courts are likely facing a 10% cut because they work for the state now, and we're looking at those same issues as well, that maybe rather than waiting the 10 or so years that it would take, we should look at consolidating Willits and Ukiah in the shorter term. And so this is not something that's going to happen overnight, but it's something to talk about, because that would allow efficiencies for the use of sheriff's deputies for transporting prisoners to and from the Willits court. It would allow efficiencies around the public defenders and the DA's office. It also allows efficiencies for the courts, because they would be able to have all their judges in one place, and so they could back each other up. I want to be very clear, this is just a preliminary discussion. It's got a long ways to go before anything could actually happen with it, but I wanted you to know that we're having that discussion, and the impetus is efficiencies and the impacts of the state budget on both of our operations.
Supervisor Dillon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Last week, I had the opportunity to meet with Chief Justice Ron George of the California Supreme Court, as well as Justice Baxter and the AOC folks. They are very encouraged by the goals that counties have set to get more courthouses transferred before the first phase of the penalties kick in. They also wanted to see each county bringing forward their as a package as opposed to piecemeal. But it was a very good meeting, and one of the issues that Justice Baxter brought up was the ability of the county to determine what's best for what works in those counties as opposed to the state making those calls for the counties, which was very refreshing. So my point of saying all this is to encourage us to keep on track to make that goal, and I know that's our intent here is to get in there before we get to the penalties phase. But if there's a chance of doing something with Willits, I think that the state is, if this is what we want to shoot for, and the judges or local judges are encouraged us to do that, then we need to just get it done, because I got the impression from that meeting that the state is, at least the Chief Justice and Justice Baxter were very positive of the counties making those calls.
That's good news, and one of the things this would do is simplify the transfer, because we wouldn't in fact transfer Willits at that point. And so that was another reason why we were kind of thinking about this. There are also issues with, there are once a month outlying courts in Covelo and Point Arena, and the courts wish to continue that, but they're indicating that we shouldn't need transfer agreements on those. And so that was something else. We're trying to simplify the process and see if we can come to an agreement that doesn't involve all the complexities of transferring, because the courts simply want to do this once a month thing, and as long as we provide them space, they don't care about anything else, basically.
You mentioned this, the Fort Bragg is pretty much finalized. You indicated this Willits deal is like a long term. Why, like Supervisor Delbo said, why does it have to be so long term? I mean, can't we
I guess
put a
what I
plan
was trying to
together?
express is that it's not a done deal. It needs more discussion. We're going to have to come to agreement on this in the time frame. Once that decision is made, I don't think that it would take more than about a year or so. Just so you know, what it would probably mean to consolidate Willits court operations into Ukiah would be that we would probably have to find another place for the DA's office. But at that point then, the Ukiah courthouse would be entirely with the courts. That would simplify that transfer process as well. And if in the process we could find a better location for the DA where they're all in one place rather than multiple floors and multiple doors, then it also meets some of our needs for more efficient office space. So all I wanted to say is it's not a done deal. We're at the beginning stages of the discussion. It can go as quickly as people are willing to have it go.
But I'm a little bit confused. There's not a DA's office in Willits. They,
Yes.
there is the permanent, or they just use
Yeah,
the court?
it's been
But yet we
vacant
don't have the
until-
attorneys to hold court up there, right?
No, there's an office there with, I think with 2 staff members, 2 or 3 staff
But
members
they're
and
not
1 DA.
because they, didn't we get a memo that they're not holding court there because they didn't have the amount of attorneys?
That position is being filled as of
Okay.
Wednesday.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but yeah, their public defender and DA has to go up there now, and occasionally they have to go to the outlying courts. One of the things that Ben and I talked about was an agreement that the outlying courts would only deal with civil issues, and that anything that required sheriff, public defender, or DA would be located in Ukiah or
But
Fort
my
Bragg.
point is, if you're not gonna hold court in Willis anymore, there'd be no reason to have a DA's office
Right.
up there.
That's
I mean,
where
so
the
it all-
efficiencies
you know,
come from.
As a taxpayer, say from Willits right now, when you walk into that facility, in the court facilities there, you got the city cops on the bottom floor and the county cops on the upper floor. And when you walk into the building, you gotta go through security that's paid, that's a private contract. So we have a private contract securing the Willits Police on the bottom floor and the county sheriff's office on the top floor. I mean, as a taxpayer, it just kind of drives people nuts. And why do we have 2 elements of public safety here, and yet we're contracting out to a third firm to watch for their protection?
Just a matter of
As a
clarity.
taxpayer, it drives people crazy.
Yeah, and it is all tax dollars,
Yeah.
but the entity contracting for the security is the Mendocino County Superior Court, not the County of Mendocino. And the Superior Court is contracting with the Sheriff's Office, both for their bailiffs and for the private security, is a pass-through contract through the Sheriff's Office, so. Okay, so that's the budget trimming. So we talked about the courthouse transfer process. The other thing is to move forward with Health and Human Services Agency integration activities. And when I complete this, Carmel is prepared to speak to that issue. The revenue enhancements, there are a number of ideas here that we've talked about and that Tom has talked about. And all of those are things that we intend to look at over the next couple of months. Some of it we've already looked at. It's not like we're just starting right now, but examining the fees during fee hearings, looking at reviewing TOT revenues, looking at business license fees and how that works, review sheriff billing for services to the public and other entities, booking fees being an area that needs to be looked at, and then considering development fees. It's all consider, review, examine, et cetera, but those are things that we need to look at. And since I was told to keep going, I'm just gonna, because I've only got 2 slides left. Next steps in the budget preparation. We're
Can I
gonna,
back you up on one there?
okay.
I think we have another-
I tried.
And the revenues, I think we ought to do a better job in collecting the taxes that are out there. For instance, you know, the TOT issue, you know, the 2 cases that we're looking into should have never got to that level. I mean, in my opinion, they should have been on top of it long before that amount got to that level. You know, and so we need to do a better job on the taxes we have out there to collect them.
Okay.
I don't believe that we're doing a good job on our unsecured property tax rolls. If you look at that, that's been really stagnant for years. So I think there's,
We
you
can
know,
do
I'm
better.
not for more taxes, but we do need to do a better job of collecting the ones
Okay.
that we do.
Okay, I've noted that. Okay, so the next steps in the budget preparation. Obviously, we're going to carefully monitor everything that's happening in 2007, 2008, work with individual departments. We will continue to itemize and project all known impacts. And, you know, with the state, that may be as late as June that we're going to find out exactly what some of those impacts are and streamline the budget process where possible. The next time you'll see us is on April 1st, and we'll have an update on the budget process. We can further talk about these guidelines, and then we'll do the fee hearings stuff. So the final picture here is